Amendment by Wu.
The chair recognizes Mr. Wu to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a simple, common sense addition to this bill. This bill allows people of faith to work in their schools. All this is saying that, hey, we recognize that not only do we have a diversity of faiths in this state, but there's a diversity of denominations within our faith. And there may be students who say, like, look, I want to talk to somebody, but I want to talk to somebody within my own denomination. Whether that be a Catholic priest or a Muslim imam or a Jewish rabbi, they should have the ability to request it. And all this amendment says is, hey, if a teacher or a student requests this, please allow them to bring in somebody else that they're comfortable with.
Certain denominations, so this is not necessary, and I ask you to vote no.
The chair recognizes Mr. Wu to close on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, you know, I love being up here and setting records for future litigation. So this simply says that we're going to respect all faiths, all denominations. If schools want to bring in one denomination, one specific faith, and you have students and teachers who say, look, could we have an additional denomination? Can we have an additional faith? Because otherwise there's a monopoly by one group. And all this is saying that, look, if students, parents, teachers would like another denomination, would like another faith to be present as well, that we do that. This is not a difficult thing. This does not gut the bill. This does not hurt anything. It allows more choice. It allows more freedom. It allows more liberty. How can you be against that?
Mr. Enchier, for what purpose?
To ask the gentleman some questions.
The gentleman yields question.
I will.
He yields for questions.
So, Representative Wu, all you're saying is that if a person is comfortable with one faith tradition, they've been raised in a church, a temple, a mosque, or not at all, that they simply can request that faith tradition and opt out of the faith tradition that is being offered by the school. Is that all your amendment says?
Absolutely. And you know, as you well know, that different faiths have different philosophies about how to interact with people, different traditions about the understanding of the world. And if your students are having a hard time, if students are having a difficult time with life, maybe they're traumatized, maybe they have problems at home, they might appreciate someone who also understands their viewpoints, understands where they come from, understands their faith. This is not a difficult thing to do. This is not a difficult thing to ask for, to simply, hey, I'm more comfortable in my denomination, in my faith. Is that so much to ask for?
So both my daughters were raised in the Catholic Church.
Absolutely.
And if a school district brought in members from a non-Christian faith tradition, and my daughter said, hey, I'd prefer to have sort of a Catholic chaplain, priest, who would counsel me, they would be prohibited from doing that under this, and instead the school district or the school would mandate to them that they must receive counseling from a pastor, a chaplain in the faith tradition of the government?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Bernal, for what purpose?
This gentleman yields for a question.
The gentleman yields for questions.
I will.
Representative Wu, I want to ask sort of what Representative Anchia was asking from a different perspective. My understanding is that the bill allows for both the hiring and the volunteering of a chaplain. And is it your understanding that if your amendment doesn't get on, then people from other faiths, a rabbi, imam, etc., would not be allowed or be prevented from volunteering at a school for their services? So it's not just that someone, let's say like my daughter, who's Jewish, could not receive counseling or services from a rabbi, but that willing, qualified rabbi would not be allowed not only to be hired, but would not be allowed to volunteer because the bill considers both employment and volunteer. Is that right?
Absolutely. So in a sense, just as our discussion and our discussion with Chair Anchia, in essence, if we do not take this amendment, as school districts that make a choice about which faiths, which denominations will be present in their schools are by default creating a state-sanctioned religious indoctrination, if that's what they wanted to do. Because no one else could come in. No one else could request something different. So if you are Catholic, you are Protestant, you are Lutheran, or if you are a Muslim, or if you're a Buddhist, or if you're Jewish, think carefully about your vote on this. Think carefully about what you want our children to be able to request for them to receive in these troubling times when our kids have so much trauma in their life. Simply letting them ask for someone that they're comfortable with, for someone that they feel understands their background and understands their worldview. That's not a big ask. That's not a big requirement. And in this day and age, it's not hard at all to find anyone of any faith to come in and say, hey, I'm happy to talk. That's it. We're helping our kids and making sure all of our kids get what they want and not necessarily what the school board or the school forces down their throat. I urge you to vote yes on the amendment.
Mr. Wu sent an amendment. The amendment